Welcome, everyone, to a very special episode of the EmpowerMAN Podcast. It's Saturday night. Obviously, Greg and I have no life. No, only kidding. We have a very good life. No, it's Saturday night here in beautiful South Florida, and I'm sure it is pretty cold up there in communist Connecticut.
Correct.
But the man staring across from me right now, he's big, he's bad, but deep down inside, he's as nice and sweet as a teddy bear. He's my friend. He's your friend. He's the patriot, the parent, the champion of the Second Amendment. He's a swimmer. He's a big fan of tricolor cookies. He's a big fan of testosterone replacement therapy. He's fasted once for 16, 20 hours, which I don't know why he would do that. He once passed out on my couch eating double stuffed Oreo cookies.
Oh, man.
He once also passed out in Las Vegas after a night of binge drinking, which I thought he wasn't alive anymore because he was covered in powder, baby powder.
Mm-hmm.
He's Greg A. Tedora, number one. That's all you need to know, folks. He's Greg A. Tedora, numero uno. Sir, how are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good.
Been a rough week.
Been a rough week for the both of us,
Yeah.
in certain regards. But you know what? This episode's gonna be a little different today. Just gonna speak from the heart. We're gonna shoot from the hip, as we say in the wrestling business. But before we get into that, want to give a shout out to our first responders, our policemen and women, our firemen and women, our EMTs. Thank you all for keeping our communities and local municipalities safe and sound.
Absolutely. And as customary, thanks to all the military personnel out there, their families, here and overseas. Please stay safe. Watch your back. America first. We thank you for everything because it allows us to do this.
It sure does. And we talk about relationships. We've spoken about it on several occasions.
Yep.
And, tonight we're going to talk about friendships. And I think friendships, people can label friendships based upon who you hang out with, your social circles, your community. You said it before. I think your ecosystems or echo chambers. I think you like that term. They can be defined by the length of their friendship. Like, you and I have been friends for half my life. I've known you half my life now, which is kind of crazy when I think about it. But friendships really, it doesn't really matter the schematics or the design or where they evolved from. When someone impacts your life, it could be for a day, a week, a year, 2 years. I lost a very close friend of mine on Sunday night, unexpectedly, at 43 years of age. And it really effed me up. And we're going to bury her on Tuesday, and Monday is the wake. So I've had a week to reflect. And, I cried so hard and so long, and I babbled. And I can't recall the last time that I cried like this, other than the last time I broke up with the girl I was dating years ago. But I think friendships are so important, the right ones, right? Because we can have really bad friendships that take us down a bad path, which we've both been a part of. You have those friendships that really enhance your lives. And the impact that my friend had on me since I moved to South Florida almost 3 years ago will never... She changed my life forever. And Greg, I wanted to get your thoughts on what friendships mean to you. How do you kind of define a friendship? And more importantly, like what makes a friendship so valuable and also invaluable? Because you can have invaluable friendships, those emotional parasites or those vampires kind of life out of you. But sometimes you stick around with those people because you might have the same bad habits or good habits, depending on how you look at things.
Yeah. Well, first, I want to give my condolences to your friend and pay my respects because I know the impact she made on you, obviously. But just to see the outreach from, your community is tremendous. And it shows, it's a testament to what a great person she was. So obviously my condolences to you and your CrossFit Del Rey family. She was a good one. So I personally didn't know her, but I knew enough of her from you to know that she was She was a cool girl. So, and I'm
Unbelievable.
sorry to her husband and her family and her kids. So heart goes out to them.
Thanks.
Yeah. But friendship to me is, it's always had the same baseline my entire life. But you brought up a good point with the valuable versus the invaluable. I think, when you're younger, the invaluable plays a little bit more. It's stronger than the valuable. The valuable's there, but you'll tolerate more of the invaluable, because you you're trying to fit in or think you want to be a certain way or be with certain
Of course.
people. And when you're young, you're influential and you want to be, down with certain people, and
Of course.
it could lead you down a bad path, like you said. So I think the tolerance for those type of people are a little bit more when you're younger, unfortunately. And hopefully you can grow out of it, get more mature, and when it comes to the fork in the road, make the right decision and stick with your core group of friends, which, I'll be honest, I know quite a few people that have a core group, but all of them, it's a small number, and that's usually how it is. I don't care. Oh, I have 100 friends. Like, no, you don't. You might have like a lot of acquaintances and like people you're friendly with, but when you say friendship to me, it's pick up the phone no matter what, good or bad, legal or illegal, no judgment. How can I help? What do you need? That to me is friendship. And it has nothing to do with like boys or girls. I think you can be friends with girls, in my opinion. I know a lot of guys think you can't. There's two sides of the fence on that. I think you can. I've had it before. That's me personally. So, but a friendship to me is, it's like the old Doc Holliday, Wyatt Earp. Wyatt Earp was a lawman back in the day, and Doc Holliday was completely the opposite for the most part, but he was a good guy. See, I don't define somebody like, oh, people do something bad. That doesn't mean they're a bad person. They might have made a bad choice or did something bad, but that doesn't mean they're a bad person. So they stayed friends their whole lives and had each other's backs. Like, that's true friendship to me. All the other ancillary stuff is just noise to me.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything, but it means something different to everybody. But the true hardcore friendships are pick up the phone. What do you need? When do you need it? That's it.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, I think friendships have to have a certain chemistry. Like when you and I met, it was like an instant, like I was like, this is like my ride or die. You know what I mean? So it was like an instant connection, right?
Yep.
I was like, I knew like we were gonna like,
Hmm.
have a good run, and I
Yeah.
knew that like with Gary, when I first my other friend Gary, like we were
Gary.
14 when we met, right? We were met freshmen in high school, and I was like, this is my guy right here. And here
Good
we are
dude, man.
30 some odd years later,
Yeah.
with Phil was the same way, or my friend Phil,
Hmm.
we would, even with Steve, Gordy is my close friends. There was an instant like
Yeah.
chemistry,
Yep.
and there's got to be a common denominator, right? My
Hmm.
wrestling friends are awesome, but I kind of keep them separate. Not that they can't coexist with other people, because
I get it.
times have changed.
Yeah.
My old friends.
Slightly.
So
Slightly. Yep.
the newer guys I've met, they're great guys, and they've for the most part, they're not as like crazy as like I meant crazy in a good way. When you're,
Hmm.
but also I think the phase of your life you're in it as well. Um,
But I will say,
yeah,
as crazy as those times were back in the day, those guys are loyal.
yeah,
Your wrestling boys were loyal, and when you brought me in and hung out with you, they were loyal to me, no questions asked. If I got into some sort of beef or trouble, I look back, they were all right behind me. And they're not my boys, they're your boys, but because I'm boys with you, they
yeah,
got my back. Like, I
yeah.
respect that. I respect that a lot.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I don't really know how it works nowadays. When going, because the guys don't go out like they used
No,
to. Like we'll
no.
go, some of the venues I've worked at, because the lines of delineation have been blurred between what's real and what's not. So it's
Yeah.
like I wrestle a couple guys, and then we're having beers at the brewery that you wrestle at, like right after. People know, and I think it's good in a way. It's also bad in a way, too. But with friendships too, I think there has to be that common denominator. In the CrossFit community, it's such a strong community, and it's so
Yeah.
healthy. It's such a healthy community where you meet people that like are normal, like husbands or fathers, wives, mothers, and if you're around that positivity, it's bound to rub off on you. It just
It's almost impossible. At least
not to.
some positivity will rub off. It's impossible.
Yeah, and I think it's good for people to have a diverse crew of friends. Like I have, we have our crew, and then I've got my wrestling crew, I've got
Yep.
my church friends, I've got my CrossFit friends.
Mhm.
Very rarely will they all bleed into each other, but it'd be super cool at some point if it
Mhm.
ever did. But friendships are, you can learn something from every friendship, and
Yeah.
all the 23 years that I've known you, I
Mhm.
have grown as a human being, because that's the effect you've had on me. Like I've
Supplements.
grown. Well, yeah, that's another that's
Actually, you
another
taught
story.
me about that. What am I kidding?
Mac 10,
Vanilla sulfate.
please. Yeah, try this. It's chicken embryo extract. But I
Best
tell you what,
supplement ever made.
I tell you
Best
what, though, my
supplement.
traps were like up to here, man.
Best supplement ever made.
Yeah, it was funny. Yeah, and then you can learn a lot from every friendship,
Yeah.
both good and bad. As you reflect upon your times, you're like, oh my god, I can't believe I did that. Can't believe I
Yeah.
did that. But I think people need to. The biggest thing with society today is that we're not learning from history. We're trying to erase history. We're trying to rewrite history instead of
Mhm.
learning from it.
Mhm.
In our personal lives, I and we all have a history, right? Whether it's with me, it's obviously I'm not that great with money. I spend money like a
You are
sailor.
now.
Well, I'm getting there. But it's still a vicious cycle. But I learned. I learned knowing what I got to do to get out of and it takes
Yeah.
time. You know. Um, my next question to you, Greg, is there any is there anything that stood out from your friendships that you have now or you had in the past? Like, what is one of the biggest things that you learned from a friendship that either existed today or existed back in the day? Is there something that you could take away from somebody that has helped you to get to this point in your life?
I think, and this is gonna be a weird answer, not a weird answer, but I think going through hard times, because everyone goes through it.
Yeah.
I think when you, for me, when times are a little difficult, I can reflect on all my friendships that I consider friends. They all have the same thing, the same. They can all say the same characteristic, like you're a good guy,
Yeah.
and meaning like you're a stand up dude, and it that bears a lot of weight when everyone says the same thing. So when you are feeling down a little bit, you can kind of reflect on and use that to kind of like give yourself a little more pep in your step when you're like putting your head down or whatever. Like, no, put your head up high. Your boys and your homegirls all say the same thing, and some don't even know each other and they say the same thing, so it's true. They've known you, a lot of them, your whole life, or at least decades, and they're all saying the same thing for a reason, because you are that way. If you weren't that way, none of them would say it. So there has to be some truth to it. So I try to use that when things are not going in my favor.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's good to always reflect on things, even like relationships. Like, we talk about like your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband,
Hmm.
your wife. There has to be a friendship there first,
It should be
right? Should be, right?
a
Whether
real
it's
friendship.
a real friendship or
Yeah.
some type of like, authenticity. And I think a lot of friendships, nowadays you see social media and you see a lot of materialistic values that are out there. So those friendships tend to get blurred between what's authentic and what is fake. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, it's definitely safe, and a lot of people all want to say, "Oh, well, they're my best friend," because they want to check that box, and
Right.
just it's a canned line that everyone uses, so they just want to say, "Oh, they're my best friend." Listen, how long have you and I known each other?
23 years. Oh yeah, that's my
That's
life.
that's been best friendship, not 25 months. Sorry, that is
Right.
not your best friend. I don't care. Not
Yeah.
your best friend. Yo, you might be really close, and you're on your way to becoming best friend. There's no way. I'm marrying my best friend. No, you're not.
Right.
No, you're not.
Well, it's so funny you say that though. And now I'm actually going to put some life to this. So my friend Myra actually was going to be married 22 years, or I think she was married 22 years to her husband, Jay. And they were like, they met when they were like 18, 19 years old. Right.
Hmm.
And we were just on a cruise last month and they were telling me how they met in their story. And we are 7 weeks later and I'm burying her on Tuesday, which is
Fuck,
just,
man.
it's crazy.
It's
Right.
heavy.
It's
Heavy.
crazy. It's crazy. But like I think in some situations that could evolve into your best friend. Right. So it's like if you're
Mhm.
married 25, like your mom and dad,
Yeah.
right, who had the model relationship,
Yeah.
they were probably each other's best friend, I would say. Is that safe to say?
My mom just told me that like a week and a half ago. Yeah.
And it's hard to replicate these days. I mean, I think the
Very hard.
society has changed so
Hmm.
much, and values get so blurred. I know we talk about it all the time, but
Hmm.
really, I think there's an identity crisis in this country and in the world. Like nobody knows who they are.
No, but then they're all going to the wrong areas to try to find their answers. Your answer's inside you.
Yeah,
It's not on social media, it's not on TV, it's not on the news, it's not on any of this shit that's out there. You got to look inside and take some stock of your own being. Only you can tell you that. No one else can.
yeah. And what's funny too, like my friend Myra, I never realized how big her reach was. When people in like foreign countries are sending their condolences, and
Mhm.
like you know, it's on like Sportskeeda and a lot of these like sports like things about the legend she was in the CrossFit community. In fact, her wake they can't have it in the funeral home because there are gonna be so many people they can't
Yeah.
withstand the volume, so they're gonna have it at the church. And, she was such a humble human being. And I think humility plays a big role in friendships. I think a lot of friendships, that I've had in the past always been I.
Mhm.
It's cool about you, but I need this, I need that.
Yeah.
Have you ever found yourself in a friendship where, the other person was like, you know, all about themselves and not about like the friendship in general?
I mean, yeah, but that wasn't a real friendship. It wasn't a long-lasting friendship because I'm
Right.
not looking for the eyes. And there
Mhm.
is no eyes in real friendship. It's like you said, it's us or it's just bouncing things off of each other. It's not just a one-way bounce. You got to hit the ball back at some point.
Right.
And I don't want anything to do with something like that. I know you don't either. I don't want to hear that. Normally, in like the dating world, I'm sure that's a huge turnoff for you. If you're sitting across from somebody and it's like me, and you're done. You're done. In my
Yeah.
opinion, you're done.
Yeah, and that's a funny thing, man, because like humility is it's a lost value or a lost sense of awareness these days. I think because
Yeah.
people are so eager to put themselves over because they want to impress people. And in the same
Yep.
regard, I think and I want to get your thoughts on this, Greg. Some people will stick around in friendships because they lack self-love,
Of
and they'll
course.
hang out with like somebody who is cool in their mind
Hmm.
just to get the rub, as they say in the wrestling
Yep.
business. Why do you think, besides the lack of self-love, like why do you think people stay in toxic friendships? Like, and that can have any type of definition, any type
Yeah.
of connotation. What would you say is the biggest reason that people stay in toxic friendships?
I think it's maybe it has to do with the lifestyle that they think they want and they're living with them. So they know they're not the right person, but they love the action or they love being seen or they love I don't know, the substances or whatever. I just think that plays a big role in it. And people are very, going back to what we originally said, the invaluable, their tolerance for that is higher because they are going to be seen in certain places or venues or wherever.
Yeah,
So
it's
that's
all
what I
part.
think.
It's all part of the scene.
Yeah.
I think about like friendships and like having your boys, you going out and
Hmm.
drinking and stuff like that. And one thing I found like in the communities that I've been in down here. And another lesson I learned from my friend Myers that she told me that you don't need to drink to have a good time.
I'm a big fan of that. You've seen me how many times I don't drink when we're out. I don't need it. I'm still an idiot, but I don't need it.
And I could never wrap my head around it. I'm like, huh?
Hmm.
But I can see like she taught me like whether it's just getting a group together to play kickball or going for a workout or going for a swim
Mhm.
and Myra taught me all those things like because we fill our hearts with such empty stuff,
Of
right? Whether it's
course.
drugs, whether it's sex, pornography,
Mhm.
alcohol, like, and she taught me about how to fill my heart with really good things. And like
Mhm.
having the same type of friends that will say, hey, we're gonna go play kickball or we're gonna go do like a crazy wad or something like that. Like, yeah, I'm like, yeah, have fun with those 1,000 burpees. I'll be having a Starbucks or I'll be having a Dunkin' Donuts. But
Yeah.
now I'm like, oh, that sounds like a lot of fun. Where before I'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna go do 1,000. I mean, that's a gross exaggeration, but she taught me so much about having fun without abusing your body with
Yeah.
substances,
Yeah.
and it's just, and I think a lot of our friendships, like what there's so many gifts that Myra gave me in such a short amount of time, kind of parlays into the other relationships you have with members like a girl, and it's like you
Mhm.
try to find that same value. Like, where can I find a girl that loves to work out, that has just this abundance of wonderful energy, that is just has her stuff together? It's like you start to morph. I think your friendships help morph your values, what you're looking for in a relationship. Is that pretty safe to say, Craig?
Yeah, of course. If you're hanging around the right people and they're your friends and it's okay to admire and want something that somebody has genuinely, not in like an ego or a jealous way, but if you hang out with some good people, like your community, they seem like a good group of people. And
Unbelievable.
it's like you want to continue that with a partner eventually that you meet. So absolutely, I think they form opinions and values, and that's a great example to set for yourself. I mean, I would do the same thing.
Have you ever had a friendship where that kind of bled into like, yeah, I want to find a girl like so and so, or you know what, like I'm in the bodybuilding community or the supplement community. Like I
Hmm.
know like the energy I'm putting out there is I want to attract that in my life. Can you recall like an influence that you had that kind of bled into other areas of life, whether it's the profession you wanted to get in, whether it's the hobbies that you have? How has a friendship inspired you to do things that benefited you in a positive way?
Well, I could it when you have good friendships that are setting examples, it just reinforces that it can be done. And it's
Yeah.
right there in front of you. You can touch it, feel it, talk to it, call it, text it, and they'll be honest with you and all that. So I think in all those categories or subcategories with yeah, I want to meet somebody or I that has X job or something like that, or is able to have that type of job but still be this type of person, or shows their man this or shows their woman that. So I think it's yes, I've have friends in both areas, guy friends and girlfriends that set great examples of what could be. So, I mean, my friend Monica,
Yeah.
super high up attorney for I can't name the company right now because she left them and there's like some legal stuff,
Mm.
but she crushes it. So I was in her wedding. I was her bride's man, and she was in my wedding. You were there,
I was.
and her husband's the man. Love him. One day, and they work, I don't know, 80, 90 hours a week. It's a lot. Demanding jobs, the whole nine. But you know what? They're solid.
Yeah.
Can't hate on that. So that's an example of it can be done. And they both basically quit their jobs
Mm.
to better their relationship.
Mm.
That's amazing. To me,
So,
that's amazing.
but I think it's awesome too. I think when you can step back and realize what
Of course.
really matters,
Exactly.
because money dwindles away. I mean, that's biblical. I mean, you can't
Yeah.
take it with you. I mean,
No.
you know, you can't
Yeah.
take that stuff with you.
No.
So
But my point is like you can see them treat each other a certain way. I'm just using them as an example. But I mean, we have friends that aren't married that are great examples of how to be.
Right.
with their partner, and those are all tangible things when they're your friends that you can see and emulate and strive to get yourself and look for while you're sifting through the dating pool, Mike.
Hmm.
Because if you smell that it's not the right recipe, pull that cord, hit that eject, and get out. It's not worth it.
Kind of like
Unless it's just for
a,
fun, then that's a different conversation, which is
right.
fine too.
Right. And you talked about that, about Monica and Bill,
Mhm.
Myra and her husband, when they were on the cruise, you could still see after 22 years, they were still in love. And they had
Pretty
that balance
pretty
of
cool, man.
like,
It's pretty
it
cool.
was, it was really cool. And it's going to be really sad,
Hmm.
because they really supported each other in no matter what they did. And I know her husband would have done anything for her,
I'm sure.
and the same way. And, you know, um, it's a real when stuff like this happens, it really makes you. We always talk about take inventory, take stock of
Yeah.
your life and
Yeah,
who
for
you hang
sure.
out with and everything like that.
Yeah.
Um, but I also think with friendships too, there has to be like I think every friendship has a legacy. We haven't spoken about legacy much, but future episodes we're talking about like what's your legacy? Like what are you going to leave behind? What's going to be your mark? Because everyone leaves a mark in the world. It could be a good mark, it could be a bad mark, you could be a smart mark, depending on like what you're into.
Mhm.
But everyone leaves a mark, and I got to tell you, man, the it I'm still in awe. I'm more in awe of my friend Myra in death than I am in life because the mark she left on this world and the people,
I
the
mean,
outpouring, and we all felt like we all mourned separately, and we all cried the same. And and I'm joking about it in a way right now. I'll say it because if there's one woman in this entire world that I would cry like this over, where I would lose my appetite, it would be Myra because she had that much effect on me. And I'm wondering, Greg, like, can you think of a friendship? Well, first off, how do you think a friendship can affect your legacy?
I mean, that's a deep question, so I'll just take it from this angle because there's a lot of angles, but
Yeah,
I think the core group of friends you have will help you leave whatever legacy you're meant to be left. Like what I'm saying is our four, our core four, they all we all I think shape each other in different ways, but still together, if that makes
yeah,
sense. We all add a certain value different from the other to each other. And I think that forms the core of the friendship, which will translate into the legacy that you're gonna leave.
yeah,
If you're a piece of shit, you're not gonna have a legacy. You're gonna have a shit legacy. It just is what it is.
right.
But we're all gonna leave a certain legacy. And I can honestly say all four of us are gonna leave good ones because we're all four good guys and we all inputted into each other good stuff.
Yeah,
So I think it helps shape it and it gives it structure, and we just as the individual carry it forward and blaze the path that we're supposed to with the good traits we have from our friends.
I like that. I like that. Obviously, if you're like a murderer or someone that does stuff, I mean, you're gonna have a legacy, but it's gonna be a legacy that you're probably not gonna want to be like known for. And I think it's really important when we think about ourselves and our future. Like, what's your legacy? Like, what are you gonna leave behind? Like, oh, Mike was a garbage friend. All he did was take and never gave, or he was this, or he was that. It's like that's not the legacy I want to leave behind.
Yeah,
And I think with friendships too, I think we got to be really clear about the people we want to attract in our life.
of
We got to
course.
be super clear about that. There's no like gray area. It's like I don't want to date a girl that goes out 5 nights a week. I don't want to date a girl at this
I
at
hear you.
45 years old. Like, I don't want to date a girl like it's like smashed all the time, does God knows what. Like, because we've all been in situations where when your judgment is clouded or it's compromised, you might do things that you wouldn't normally do.
Hmm.
We've all been there on more than one occasion. And at 45 years old, I don't really want to be like that. And it's another lesson that Myra taught me,
Oh. And
in
I don't want to
regards to
be
that.
put. I don't want to be put in a bad situation that I didn't put
No,
myself in.
exactly, because you
Mm-hmm.
never know. Like, you never know. And
Mm-hmm.
I got to tell you, when we talked about doing CrossFit when I first moved down here, I never thought what I was going to walk into
Mm-hmm.
has shaped the rest of my life.
I remember
And
you calling me up. You're like, "This place is fucking awesome."
it was awesome. It was
Yeah.
just like it was so awesome. The people were so cool, and
You
like
said that instantly, man. I remember.
and
Instantly you
I
said that.
and here they are. Like I
And you've
wanted to
been in
move.
fitness your entire life.
Yes.
So that means even more coming from someone like you because you've seen it all, and for you to instantly feel that, I mean that says something right there.
Oh, I'm obsessed with learning. And I used to
Mhm,
bug Myra all the time and ask her questions about program design because I'm so like by the book and linearization. And
mhm,
with CrossFit workouts, I don't know I'm sure some of our listeners have done it. Like because it's so unstructured and it's so there's periodization, but not in a traditional sense. And for
mhm.
all the exercise physiology geeks out there and the marks out there, they'll get it. But because the workouts varied so much, my body never got used to one thing. And
Yep.
when it was time to do a PR, holy smokes. Like I couldn't believe like at 45 years old, I am as strong, if not stronger, than I was when I was in my 20s, right? When we were working out and doing the bodybuilding stuff.
And we
And
were pretty strong then.
was strong. And to be that, and just hang. I used to bug Myra. I used to ask her questions, not bug. I'm probably
Mhm.
probably annoyed her, but she would have never told me. I'd always ask her questions about things. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And she always was so patient, and she'd answer my because I love to learn. And Myra taught me. She was teaching me handstands, which now that would be a great video to like
Against the wall
watch,
or just in general?
bro. Against the wall, I can't even get in position, dude.
Come on, I can do that.
Yeah,
I'm a
you know,
freaking gorilla. I can do those. You know who
bro.
taught me them? Justin taught me them.
Handstands.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm lucky I don't give myself a pile driver.
How? You're a wrestler. You're good, man. You can
Yes,
do it.
but I can't. No, I
Just
really
kick your
can't.
leg
Like,
up against the wall. You're
yeah,
fine.
but I usually can push off someone. I'm not pushing off anything, and I'm not landing.
You're
But
strong. Just push off the ground.
you know what though? So my friend has a cheer gym, right? And people in the South Florida area will get this, right? She had a cheer gym. So one day for some charity thing, we had a thing. So I wanted to learn gymnastics because I always wanted to do a moonsault. I'm never going to do a moonsault, right? So I remember we were doing front flips, and I never landed on my feet because she had a crash pad. So I was taking like back body drops, and
Yeah.
she started laughing at me. She said, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm practicing my bumps. This is perfect." And she was so easy to get a laugh out of, and I was doing these somersaults and landing and taking
Hmm.
bumps and stuff like that on the crash pad. And she laughed, and but it's one of those things where she taught me to take care of myself, make myself
Yeah.
a priority, stop and smell the roses.
I mean, that's big right there. Those two things you just said, take care of yourself and just slow it down and smell the
Ah,
roses. I mean, you
smell the
got to take care
roses.
of yourself, man.
It's crazy,
People
and
run
then
themselves into the ground. It's too late by then.
yeah, and you never think you get a bunch of people together and you do a gymnastics class and you have a great time, and then you go get lunch afterwards, and that's a day, and it
Hmm.
didn't involve an ounce of alcohol or drugs or this or that.
Hmm.
And it's crazy. Like you meet, hey, let's go grab some beers, or hey, you go on a date with a girl. It's like, hey, how about saying, hey, you want to go grab a workout? Like that would be like awesome. Like, hey, let's go do you want to go drop in on a cross? I mean, that sounds kind of crazy, but like, kind of cool. You want to go for a workout? Like, let's see. Not that I don't think it's going to be a common practice, but
Yeah.
Myra gave me hope that there are good people still left in this world.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And friendships do that to you, Greg. Besides our friendship, are there other friendships that you derive inspiration or hope from, and how does that work for you? Like, do you look at someone as a constant source of inspiration? Like, oh man, like Gary's inspires me to do this. But do you have like
Uh,
that one friendship that you like are like, yeah, man, like take our friendship out of it. Like, do you have other influences in your life, or how would you categorize those influences, and how have they
I
helped shape your
so I'll,
lens?
I'll answer like this: all my friends influenced me in one way, shape, or form. All of them, and like Gary has been through the ringer, and he's just living proof that this too shall pass. He's in great shape. He's gonna be 50. I was making fun of him at the Pantera concert, but he
Yeah.
he's in phenomenal shape, and he's just a funny guy, but he's a stand-up dude where I'm not putting his shit out there. He's been through a lot in his past. And to be the type of person and friend he is for all of us says amazing things about his character. I don't talk to Gary every week. Maybe we talk once a month, if that. But
Yeah.
it picks right up in like this. I mean, he's in our group text, thank God, which we talked about. But we can pick up after like a month of not speaking, right with our, funny banter and right into how we left off. The
Yeah.
last time I saw Gary was at the Rage Against the Machine concert. So I haven't seen him since then, and we just had the best time at this concert, and we spoke here and there. That's a good friendship. So I take things like that from each and every one of our good friends.
And I think with friendships too, we talked about that. Like, to be able to pick up, like, you don't see
Instant,
someone like,
instant.
there are certain friendships, we've all had them, where you see somebody and then it's just like, hey,
Like
look at
our
my
friend
left.
Jules,
Yeah.
who we met. God, how long ago was that?
2000, I
15?
think it was 2009 and 2008. It was 09. It might actually might have been 08. No, I don't remember if it was 08 or 09, but around that time.
Okay.
Around that
So
time. Around that time.
she is a good example of a great friendship with a girl.
Yeah.
We met them at a party in the Hamptons. We came in hot, our group, and just took that party over. You took over the music, and that was it. And of course, with my sweet tooth, I went right. It was like a catered party too. Like the food was pretty legit. I went right for the desserts, as always. And to this day, still calls me Cookie. That's how we met, and I'm in her phone as that. And hey, Cookie, what's up? And it's a testament to friendships. And she has been through a lot, health
Sure
wise.
has.
And
Sure has.
she was my first friend, real friend. I remember where I was. I was in the cab on Central Park West, and she called me like middle of the day and told me, she was sick. She had cancer. And I remember that like it was like just like that tunnel vision, like everything just got real fucking small, and I was like, I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
And that was a long time ago, and here we are. She's good, and we talk maybe once every other month, pick up right where we left off. We still talk like we did at that party that we all met at. I mean, just good people. So I think when you take stock, if you can take stock when you're dead and you look back, your group of friends, guys, girls, whatever, they all have, in my opinion, those core values that we talked about in like episode 1 that everyone has at some point.
Yeah.
Some people can't find their core values, so you need to look for them. But the true friendships, they all have some sort of core values that are aligned.
Yeah.
I mean, use her an example, use Gary. Those are solid people. I can call them up, or you can call them up for anything. They'll do it. They'll be there.
Yeah.
But that's that core shit that's very similar. So I think that also helps us when we look back at our legacy. Our legacy is we have a goddamn really good group of friends that'll fucking go to the end of the earth for you if you ask them to. That's
Yeah.
special, man.
And it is.
People do not. Some people have it. Most people don't. Everyone says they have that, but when push comes to shove, nope. Ghost town when those people call.
That's right.
I mean, there's
That's right.
family members that aren't there for their family members, and we know people like that. You and I aren't blood. We're not family. Gary and I aren't like Jules and I. None of us are blood, but we're there for each other no matter what. I mean, that's awesome. That's
Like,
that's fucking special.
and that's what you want. And
Yeah.
that's what you want in a friendship. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? It's what you really want.
And that's why you
And
don't take things like that for granted. None of us do. I know that.
no.
So it's very special. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty unique. You know, and not a lot of people, I don't think they're aware of it because I think, you use a word a lot, optics.
mm, yeah.
It's like, let me have a lot of friends or let
Let me
me
look
have
like this.
this.
Let me
Right.
look like that. No.
So I can portray that image. And, when you look through pictures, like if people ever go to my friend Myra's, Instagram page, you can see the energy in her pictures.
Hmm.
It was all authentic. It was all genuine. And she
Yeah.
genuinely just made you feel special, made you feel included,
Hmm.
and I mean, I went on a cruise with her and her husband and my other CrossFit friends that all are married and have kids. And they're like, she's like, just come along. So I bought a ticket and I'm so glad I did because I was able to spend a lot of time with her and her husband.
Yeah,
And
that's awesome.
you know what I mean?
Like
She
that
just
was
made you
meant to
feel
be for you
included.
to go. That was
Isn't
meant to
that
be for you
crazy?
to go. Yep.
And I
Yep.
think God puts people in your life. God's very strategic. When we talked about the story came on the air, right?
Mm.
You can have a plan, but the Lord's going to determine your steps.
Hmm.
That's right in the book of Proverbs. I told you that I was studying that. And, everything kind of makes sense now why I landed in Delray Beach. Because you're like, well, why'd you pick Delray Beach for? Why didn't you go to Miami? Why didn't you go
Ugh.
here? And I was like, I had friends. Little did I know that, again, why I was in Washington, D.C.,
I
from
tried
D.C.
to
to
get you
Delray,
down there so long ago.
but it wasn't the
I
right
know.
time.
Wasn't meant to be.
Yeah,
Not
and
yet.
God knows,
Not
yeah,
yet.
and God knows I might not even be talking to you if I was down here at that time because I didn't care,
Hmm.
and even though I only knew Myra for a couple years that I've been living here, she she had the biggest impact. I mean, she gave me the foundation for my life here in Florida, like how Ford. If I didn't have Ford, helping me in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
I would have never had the life I
That
had in
was your guy.
D.C. That was my guy, and he is my guy,
Yeah.
and he's like Ford is family to me.
Yep.
And I do, and it's funny, people say he's like my brother, he's like my sister, he's like this, like that. Like you talk about who's there for you when times are tough,
Hmm.
who's there for you when things go awry, who's there for you, and I call Ford always picks up the phone. He could be like, "Hey, I'll call you back," which is the phone.
Yep. Hmm.
And even though he's not blood, he's blood to me, like Phil and Gary, and he's
Hmm.
in that group.
Yep.
Our other buddy Greg, he's in that group, in that, category. And, with Myra, she created a family. Like I can also say I'm a part of a family down here in the CrossFit community. And those that do CrossFit know what I'm talking about. And she just taught me, she gave me so much positivity about being healthy and taking care of myself and just putting good stuff in your mind. And I always knew this, but some of those things get lost, and to have someone reinforce that. And she pushed you to be better. And I think friendships do that too. Friendships push you to be
Absolutely.
better.
Yeah.
She always encouraged you to do, you can do this, you got this, you can do this, you got this, you could do this. And I'd always be so self-deprecating because I knew I couldn't do a kip. I couldn't do a kip. I still can't do a kip. I still can't do a handstand.
I don't want to do one of those.
you know, but she just man, she was, I mean, I think, we covered so much, and obviously about friendships, and I spoke a lot
Yeah.
about my friend Myra, but, I think in closing for me, and then, I think friendships have no parameters in the time that you know them. They have no boundaries into what you guys can share and what you can't share. But
Hmm.
more importantly, friendships really build the foundation of the way you look at the world, the way you interact with people,
Hmm.
the energy you give off. And, I have to bury someone that I loved. And on Tuesday, I didn't know her, she was just a beautiful, incredible human being. And I think if you surround yourself with beautiful, incredible human beings,
Hmm.
it doesn't matter what goes on. You can make $5 an hour or 5 million a year. They'll always be there for you. They'll always
Yep.
have your back. And that's substance.
Yeah,
That's
that's
substance.
huge. It's meaningful. And I'll just say, and you don't, let's see, you live in Florida. I live in Connecticut. Gary's an hour away. Phil's a couple hours away. Justin's a little bit, not too far away, but like you don't have to be so close with these friendships. People live in different states, but like we're super, super tight. So you don't have to be geographically in the same spot. Good
Yeah.
friendships will withstand the test of time and logistics. That's all it is, just logistics. So make it a point to see your friends and just be there for them. I take none of my friendships for granted, none of them, and I don't have many, and I'm proud to say that, and I'm not afraid or embarrassed to say that, because some people are, because they care about the optics.
Right.
And people know I'm not like the nicest guy in the world, but to my friends I'm always there, and that means more to me than anything. So that's all I care about.
And tell people how you feel about them. Don't take it for granted, because tomorrow's not promised to anyone.
Oh, speaking of that, glad you
You
brought that
know,
up. You know who I called? What's today? Saturday? On Thursday?
no.
Lawrence.
Oh, no
Lawrence.
way.
Yeah, just called him out of the blue. Left him a voicemail.
That's
See
cool.
how, because I haven't spoken to him in 2 years.
Yeah.
What's up, man? Just thinking of you. Hope you're well. Give me a call. And the next day he called me. I was on a call, so I couldn't. He left me a voicemail. So all
That's
good.
great.
See what I'm saying though? Like
Great.
it's all good.
That's great.
Yeah,
And
because we were tight at one point, and I'm not gonna let some bullshit get in the way of anything like that, because you never know, and you never know what somebody else. You're a big fan of this. You never know what somebody else is going through, and I know some of the things that he did go through, and that's makes me nervous for him, and I want him to be all right. So it's all good.
that's also another thing too, is when you really weigh out things, if you do
Yeah,
get into it, like you got to really weigh out what's worth it. If it's worth losing a friendship over something so petty, then
yeah,
you got to really re-examine your
yep,
stuff. But you know, um, always tell people how you feel about them. Never take today for granted, because tomorrow's
yeah,
not promised to anyone.
yeah,
And
man.
I take solace in the fact that I have a text message with Myra, and I used to thank her every time I got out of the wrestling ring, and thanked her for
I remember you
everything.
told me you texted her after one of your matches saying
Nine
you've
thirty,
never felt so good, like in the ring, like you're in shape and you're not hurt and all this stuff. And I remember you told me that.
and aesthetically, I'm not the best prize. I mean, but I'm getting there. But you know what? When people saw me,
Neither
they
am
couldn't
I.
believe. At 45 years old, soon to be 46, I'm not exactly Mr. America, nor do I want to be. But you know, people looked at me and like, wow, I can't believe you hung with this person, or I couldn't believe that I didn't get blown up. And I like, kept thinking, was like, Jesus, it's the, and I say that as lovingly. Obviously, I'm not taking the Lord's in vain, but I'm like, wow, like I all the burpees I did, and all the burpee box jump overs, and all the crazy
Ugh.
stuff that Myra would make us do really translated out into like
Mhm.
other areas of my life. So I mean, friendship should improve your quality of life, like you said. Like it's just you never take anything for granted, because you never know what tomorrow lurks around the horizon. And
Yeah.
I definitely want to dedicate this episode to my friend Myra Brandt, who passed away.
Yeah.
And if you want, we can put up her Instagram page. You can check her out,
I'll
and
put it
you can
up.
see what an amazing woman she was. I mean, she was somebody that you were proud to call your friend. Somebody that if you met her, I mean, she was just a force and a presence. And to see that light put out way too soon, it just sucks.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
it really sucks. And I can't even cry anymore, because I don't think I have anything left in me. So, it just, tell your friends you love them. Tell your friends you care about them. Never leave any stone unturned, because you just never know. So,
That's a fact. Yep. For sure.
on that end, man, I'm going to sign off, and we'll link up again next week and give our viewers some great stuff. We'll pick up the mojo here a little bit. I know it was a little somber tonight, But
All
I
right.
think it's
We talk
one of
about
those
all
things.
this. We talk about everything here, the tough
Yeah,
things, the things no one wants to talk about, but they really do want to talk about or at least hear about. We'll
yeah,
hit it.
yeah. And I think again, it's just one of those nights where I think every guy, girl that listens to this just can take stock and reflect upon things and the people in your life. And
Hmm.
I lost a good one. And
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
so in any event, Greg T, I'm signing off from this free state of Florida. God bless and take care of yourself and tell the ones that are close to you how you feel always.
Mike nailed on the head. I'm not going to say anything. Thanks for listening, and do what Mike says, and tell your friends you love them, and be grateful you have them. All right. Thanks again. See you next week.